Under a radiantly scorching sun and clear skies punctuated only by distant wisps of clouds, we find Anne Watkins tending to her farm. She is one of the many Kenyans celebrating a new revolution in agri-based technology.
This is a new technology which saves on so much, and with the climate change, and especially with the solar production, I think with the solar it's free. We have to maximize to save again on climate change, and basically to save on costs, especially in those arid and semi-arid areas.
The agrivoltaic system has thus far been used successfully in the United States and Germany, but Kenya and Africa are only just experiencing the project for the very first time. Several months of research by scientists from the University of Sheffield in the United Kingdom, World Agroforestry and Kajiado-based Latia Agro-Entrepreneurship Institute has yielded positive results for the project, now dubbed Harvesting the Sun Twice.
We had two plots. We have the control plot that is grown under the normal conditions. And what we were able to know is that after the analysis, we were able to get that the crops that were grown under the panels performed better. That is in terms of the quantity and the quality.
Agrivoltaic technology combines land dedicated to solar panels with land dedicated to agriculture to improve food security and create connectivity.
Over the last 15 years, over the last 20 to 30 years, all the players that have been in the agriculture ecosystem, we have put the foundations for why agribusiness is viable for the continent. Most of the technologies that we are talking about, we know which technologies have a chance of success on the continent. What really now needs to be done is to connect the dots.
However, after the successful rollout in Kenya, another trial is being set up in neighboring Tanzania, the aim being to spread the technology across the continent. But farmers like Watkins say they still need help.
Being a capital-intensive project, the government maybe can put up policies in place when it comes to funding, maybe providing cheaper loans to farmers, and maybe organizing farmers into cooperatives, which may end up being a community project as a cooperative.
Even as the continent and the world gathers in Nairobi from the 4th to the 6th of September at the very first ever Africa Climate Summit to deliberate on the adaptation of climate change mitigation efforts, climate-smart technologies like agrivoltaics remain a source of hope to rural farmers in the face of a changing and challenging climate. Alanauko, Tech One.
A very good morning to you. What you just watched is Tech One, our weekly feature that comes to you every Thursday at 9 p.m. Fresh episodes during the Prime Edition Bulletin. This is BizCheck. My name is Betty Kiptum. Thank you very much for choosing KBC Channel 1. We start with the program with Matters Environment, where the First Lady Mazingira Awards are taking place at Sarova Stanley. And Elizabeth Koske, who is the Mama Doing Good CEO, is speaking. Let's listen into that.
There. In conclusion, I thank you once again for your commitment and for your presence today. Together with the power of storytelling, we can inspire a nation to action. We believe in the role of the media in shaping our future, and we are excited about what we can achieve together in building a sustainable, green Kenya for generations to come. Allow me then to thank each one of you for attending this media briefing. We have partners, and allow me to name a few, like Dr. Osewe from the Renaissance University, who has joined us today, and many more. We appreciate each one of you for being here today. Thank you for the speakers that came ahead of me, and thank you for the powerful words that you have spoken. Thank you, our peers, for accepting to grace this occasion. And so, as I end, allow me also to invite our representative from the Ministry of Education, Madam Florence Omoiti, who in turn will assist me to invite our peers to give us a keynote address. Thank you for listening to me, and God bless you.
Still good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, the CEO, our Principal Dr. Inj. Festus Ngeno, ladies and gentlemen, all the speakers who have been here before me. They have talked about the children, and here from the ministry, my name is Florence Amoit, State Department for Basic Education, Ministry of Education, and at the center of this program, as all our speakers have alluded to, is the child. And this child is also at the center of the ministry. I have a message from the PS, Dr. Belio Kiptum, who is out there on other official duties. Allow me to give his message. Let me start by appreciating the Office of the First Lady for her role and her team that she has played in supporting the presidential directive on national tree growing restoration campaign by committing to plant 500 million trees, and you even have a great ambition of doing 1 billion over the period of 10 years. Congratulations. We note that in the spirit of collaboration, the organization is working with many stakeholders to adopt different strategies to achieve this target. The Ministry of Education is proud to be part of this because the learners in the education institutions have a chance to positively contribute to the national goal of planting 15 billion trees. From the previous speakers, it has been demonstrated that this is not just a competition, it also involves the practical part of planting trees. This initiative to engage learners in growing trees in schools dubbed Mama Fruit Garden is highly appreciated. The initiative seeks to inspire learners to become environmental stewards and climate change champions through fruit tree growing. This will contribute to the learners' nutrition and income generation. This is also going to be supported, leveraging on the existing school programs such as 4K clubs, and some of the speakers have alluded to this previously. The First Lady Mazingira Award, also known as FLAMA, annual national challenge, to us as a ministry provides a platform that recognizes and appreciates young people making significant contribution in addressing climate change through creative expression of Kenya's learners. The Ministry of Education has also proudly participated in the process of designing the award scheme, right from the competition conception to the implementation. The ministry has issued the necessary authorizations in line with its mandate and also used the existing structures to popularize and support FLAMA in all our primary junior schools in the country. The ministry appreciates the fact that this program is learner-centered in its approach, and design. The competition as purposely or is designed to be of learners, by learners, and for the learners. And most of the speakers have alluded to this. And to us as a ministry, involving learners in designing the name, the tagline, the logo of this program through the national competition gives them the opportunity to think critically, make decisions on matters that are affecting them, thereby promoting the ownership and the decision-making capacity. The competition targets all learners at all in institutions, including those with special needs. And this is in the effort to build a more sustainable, resilient climate future that we are all aspiring for. However, as a ministry, it was deemed wise that we start at a lower level and progressively expand. And from Sheila's explanation, we are currently actively involving junior and primary schools, then progressively expand to other levels. FLAMA to us gives learners an opportunity to be involved in the environment, creative activities, which is art, drawing, essay in Kiswahili and English, and spoken words. And this avails them the equal opportunity to express themselves on climate change issues, while at the same time developing their ability and talent and skills. The ministry, again, collaborates by way of integrating. We have integrated the program with our National Education Information System, NEMIS, whereby the participation of learners, these learners who are participating in the competition, the process is powered by NEMIS, which is the ministry's single source of truth for education data. This means that NEMIS UCI codes are used to help in identifying and authenticating bona fide schools and learners to enroll for FLAMA competition. So we want to confirm that those competing are from known schools and they are authenticated as students in those schools using through the system, the information system NEMIS. We wish to appreciate also the focus of this award scheme, which aims to nurture and empower learners as agents of change for environmental conservation and climate action. This will complement government's effort to promote an environment-centered entrepreneurship culture among learners. This will also ensure that the young people use their talents and skills gainfully and responsibly while appreciating the impact of their actions on the present and future generations. We can therefore safeguard Mother Nature through responsible human activities. The challenges of climate, as most of the speakers have alluded, affect mostly our children. They are more vulnerable. And this, as a ministry, also affects our commitment to provide quality education for all. Among these challenges, is the disruption of the school calendar occasioned by floods. And the example is what we experienced in April, May, June, where we had some schools in counties such as Baringos being submerged. And we also have cases of many children in arid and semi-arid areas missing classes due to hunger, which is occasioned by drought. And all these are the effects of climate change. With such initiatives of First Lady's Mazingira Award, we are optimistic we shall be able to arise above these challenges. As government, we are committed to fostering an environment where learners explore their passions, think critically, and collaborate effectively.
That is an ongoing event on the First Lady Mazingira Awards, which looks to incorporate children and the young people in the fight against climate change, or to just come up with solutions to alleviate the effects of climate change. Of course, remember that Africa is suffering the biggest impacts of climate change, and the world is working on solutions to ensure that the impact is mitigated. We shall be giving you details on that story in our subsequent bulletins. Now, in studio, we want to discuss matters investments. And the world has moved. There is AI. You use ChatGPT if you do. For those who are in school and those who are studying, or even in offices, people use that. But how is AI being used in investing? And how is this helping investors reap more? To have this conversation is Donald Wangonyo, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Forefront Management. Thank you very much for joining me.
A pleasure.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
We could just start with what Forefront does. Who is Forefront?
Forefront is the first licensed robo-advisor. And what a robo-advisor does is use technology. You mentioned AI, which is one of our core pieces of technology, algorithms, to help you find opportunity individually, right? Because it's technology, everyone has a phone, everyone has access to internet, so they get personalized service at a very high quality. All of these services are available. You know, if you're a high net worth individual, you're going to get personalized service. So the question becomes, how do you give that to me, you, to the entire population? You use technology, you use the phone. And so we are able to deliver this level of high quality opportunities, investment knowledge and advice to the normal person. Mm-hmm. Yes.
When you talk about a robo-advisor,
yes,
you are the first to be licensed in Kenya, right?
Yes, by the Kiptum Markets Authority.
Right, by the CMA.
Yes.
How were things before that? Let's start there.
How are things before that, and how are they for most people who haven't heard of Forefront Management? Is you are in two worlds. You are either, and we'll talk about some of these other areas, you're in a money market fund, or, and the key with the money market fund is whether you are 18 years old or whether you are 60 years old, you're in the same fund. And so the fund manager has to keep in mind your different risk profiles. And for a young person, you have one opportunity, you have one grace period, which is your age, to be able to exercise a higher risk profile. And as you move up, you need to start reducing that risk profile. But because it's one fund and you're all mixed in there, the fund manager has to take the safest and best option on the average. Yeah, you know, the joke I like to tell is if your teacher told you you are average, they didn't say you are a bad student, right? Mm-hmm. But did they say you're the best student in the class? No. So they do the best they can, which is to give an average return, which is a good return, but it is not appropriate for most people, in our view, because Kenya is a young country from a population perspective. So young people need to be able to really get into the stock market and really understand how to pull it through. And in fact, I was looking at a report yesterday, the difference between what we call the boomers, what we call the Gen X, 40-year-old, 50 going up, versus the powerhouse of the country, Gen Z, and their older brothers and sisters, who are the Gen X. And there's a distinct difference in investing methodology and thought process. Gen Z and millennials will try what they see. They have the strength and the fortitude to be able to say, I want to see what this thing looks like. What are other people, what is my counterpart in New York doing? What is my counterpart in South Africa doing? And why can't I get that? Gen X and boomers are more confident in the old way things were done, stable, don't give me any surprises type of investing. And so we now want to serve millennials and Gen Z how they should be served, how their counterparts are served in the rest of the world. Yes.
So of course this demographic is very exposed, as you say. It's real-time communication and information with people across the world.
Yes.
So understanding the way that demographic views money is very important, right?
Exactly, exactly. What we have is, don't just give me fluff. I will spend time researching and understanding. You know, that's why YouTube is so big. That's why Twitter is so big. Someone will spend time and get into the detail if you offer it to them. That individual is perfect for what is offered by the stock market. Tell me, in a way I can understand, what is happening with the price of the NASI. The NASI is the index, it's the general view of the exchange. Or tell me what's happening very specifically with Safaricom over the last 3 months, in a way I can understand. And to be clear, when we say in a way I can understand, it means to make money. Don't give me stories.
Yeah.
How can I understand in a way to make money? Which is what I want to now be able to, with your help, be able to express to people, right? So we want to understand, is there really money being made? Did the Gen X's and the boomers sour us from thinking what is actually happening in the market? Are they simply the wrong mental type? And it is good, you know, where they are. But are they the wrong mental type from Gen Z and their older brothers and sisters? Right?
Right.
So that's what we want to look at, yes.
Right. The stock market, as you said, even before we get into the algorithmic trading and the AI type of trading, understanding the stock market in itself is not easy for many people. A lot of young people right now are putting their money in MMFs because there is influencer marketing across board, you know, on MMFs, money market funds. So understanding the stock markets, give us just the basics. What do we need to know?
What we need to know about the stock market, and as I said, for me, I like to put it in real terms. How are we making money from this thing? In fact, I even brought a chart. I don't know if I can put it up, if that's okay. I don't know if the camera is able to zoom in on this. I know it's a bit bright. But if you look at that is 10 years. And I want you to focus on the numbers there. Those numbers represent money that was made in the last 10 years. Now, keep in mind, Gen X's told us there's no money being made in the stock market. Keep in mind that boomers, our parents, told us there's no money in the stock market. You're looking at 60%. You're looking at 14%, 15%, 44% growth, 26%, right? In the last 10 years. Those numbers are just astounding, and I know it's not very clear. My person, I should have told him to put it on a black background.
Right.
But just looking at those numbers, what it tells you is, look at the stock market with a mentality to make money. Don't look at the stock market with a mentality to complain. And that's the difference there, and we'll talk about that differently. Maybe I can put this card down. Now, what I wanted to show is that money truly and genuinely is being made. What is another way of thinking about it? Generally, in the stock market, from 50 all the way up to 80% of the people actually doing work are foreigners.
Okay.
Now, why are people telling us that there is no money to be made? And then when I look at the place, I see foreigners coming in and saying, this is where we need to go full force in the market. Yeah, it's our birthright. We were born to take advantage of this. yeah, more than anyone else. Now, don't get me wrong, we are a growing economy, we need foreign investment, certainly. But it doesn't seem right that I did not take advantage, yet my counterpart from Morocco, from Geneva is coming in and taking advantage of the same market. So those are the two ways to think about it. If you look at it in real terms, you'll actually find the money. And then if you ask yourself, why are all these people coming in and not us? You'd have to have a question that you'd have to answer yourself. So let's dig into that and see what's the difference. There are two ways to look at the stock market, because you asked that we get into it, isn't it?
Yes,
there are two ways to look at the stock market. The first is called fundamental analysis. And the second is called technical analysis. So think of two worlds. There is fundamental analysis and technical analysis. And these are all things that we teach an investor when they come to work with Forefront Management. In fundamental analysis, you're looking at company reports. You know, they have investor briefings. You're looking at the economy, all this paperwork, right? And you need certifications to be able to understand what is happening. And that works very well for the Gen X's and the
boomers.
Because they're used to, if I need information, I'll go to the library and I will check out my book and I will read my book. Yes. Let's now bring in a Gen Z and a Gen X. And you ask them to get information. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to Twitter. They're going to go to... And that's why the world now starts separating. And so in technical analysis, you're looking at the price trend. Where do I think it's going to go to? Right? I'm not guessing where it's going. I'm looking at it. And because I know all these fundamental analysts are doing all their reading, they're going to choose a particular price. I'm able to ride on that. And that's where you get a significant portion of the profit that is coming for young. It's no longer in the fundamental analysis. The second part, the second difference about fundamental analysis and technical is all of these financial reports and the details. And the CMA does significant work to make sure that all this information is out into the general public and everyone's using it. And when they say everyone, who do they mean?
Financial advisors. Oh, the Gen X and the boomers.
And the boomers,
yes,
yeah?
Yes.
I know some people will give me a call after this interview. That is helping drive the market. It's helping move markets. What now the Gen Zs are coming and millennials are coming to do is now look at the historical prices.
Okay.
Right? Now, what does Forefront do? Forefront uses technology to look at those historical prices faster than any human being can do. So within 5 minutes of any market, when the market closes, Forefront analyzes 10 years of market price trends and comes with an opportunity for today. So it tells you tomorrow morning, be prepared to buy this particular security, whether it is Gen Z or it is Safaricom or the rest. The third element that we want to bring in, which is really important for the young investor, is time frame. If you tell a young investor, please invest and then check it in 25 years, you lost them right from the beginning. That was a very good story before. Today, I want speed, I want action, and I want to be able to see what is happening in my portfolio today. Right? And so fundamental analyst is more long-term. We're talking years, many months and years time frame. The time horizon for technical analysis is days or weeks.
Okay.
Right? So by the time I put my money in and take it out, we are in the days or weeks time frame. This is not the crazy business of, minutes, seconds, which happens, if you go to the Western markets, it's milliseconds, right? We don't have that kind of movement here. What we have here is, I put my money in on Monday, let's see what I get by Wednesday or Thursday, right? I put my money in January, by February I want to know what I have. So this speaks very well to the current investor, right? In fact, there was a story that was done maybe about 2 weeks ago in the papers. And it said that there's something like 1.7 million CDS accounts. Those are actually investors who have registered. But very few of them are investing. And the reason we see that anomaly is because most of those are the older generation. So I buy today and I wait 10 years. Most of those do not see or have not been told about the opportunities in technical analysis and do not have the infrastructure to help them do that, right? So if we were to look at risks, because now we are looking at...
Before we get into the risks, these technical analysis that you do, you're using technology.
Yes.
And you had the first robo-advisor in the country.
Yes.
So how exactly does this technology work? What are you feeding into it, you know? Help us understand how the technology works and why we should trust it in the first place.
Oh, excellent question. I love that question. Excellent. So if you are going to trade technical analysis, you would need at least 10 years of data. You would then need to learn what happens in price movements. Let me give you an example. If the price moves up for 3 days, does it move up on the 4th day? Right? A simple question. And then you'd go into the data and then you'd see how many times did that happen. That data is available to anybody today. In fact, we want more people. We want especially, my training is in computer science.
Okay.
And so I always plead with the young computer science crew that is coming out, get into algo trading. That's what your counterpart is doing. The computer can do that, can look at these patterns and tell you, yes, I saw this pattern 3 years ago and it lasted for 2 weeks. It will happen again today, right? That is simply doing the same thing you would do, but we're doing it in milliseconds, whereas you would take, I mean the other technical analysts, I know how sharp you are, Betty.
Yeah.
What other people would take days or weeks to do. And here's the key. When you do it in minutes, then I'm looking for an opportunity tomorrow.
Right.
And that opportunity will last 3 days, and then I'll be out again, right? That is the level of opportunity that is in the market. And we are just, when say we forefront management, we are just saying that there is so much money to be made, but nobody wants to make it. And I've never seen that situation where nobody wants to make this money. We're so excited about, the returns that are coming in from bonds or money market funds. That's a whole year to make, 15-something%.
Right. It's interesting you mentioned that from the chart that you lifted. I mean, we're talking 60, 26, 44, 15, and a lot of those are above the market rates.
Yes.
How is this being achieved?
Brilliant. Let's get out of averages.
Okay.
Let's get out of products that are for everyone in the market. Let's get into products that are specific, right? Specific to Donald, specific to Betty, specific to Joe, right? What is your conditions? What is your knowledge level? What are your responsibilities in life? Let's put all those together. That's a requirement by the regulator. The CME says, if you're going to support a person under this environment, you need to truly understand where they're coming from. Now, once I do that, there are opportunities that are appropriate to me that are not appropriate to you, right? So as the algo goes and looks for these opportunities, we then come back to your profile and then we say, all right, is this appropriate for instance, there's one that's 150%, right? Is this appropriate for perhaps a 45-year-old with 3 kids?
That sounds like a lottery, right?
It exactly sounds like.
150%.
In fact, let me pull it up. I think I have one of the charts here, but I'll apologize to your audience because it's on white paper. But look at that. That's if they can put it, that's Kenya Power today, right? And I know the story with Kenya Power today is about other things. Huh? Maybe we shouldn't speak about politics here.
Please.
This is not a political show.
Let's stay away from that.
But the people who are looking at Kenya Power from a point of opportunity, just this year, would have made 150%. True, real money. If you put in, let's use some numbers. If you put in 200,000 at the beginning of the year, you'd be walking away with the order of 500,000. Now, there's even a better catch. I think the audience has seen that, right? And I ask them, please go to any tool in the market that shows our prices. Kenya is a global market, as I mentioned. So all of these tools are there to be able to print them. Now, there's a thing that we also need to understand when we say 150, 22%, 50%. We need to understand that one of our biggest challenges today is taxes, right? How much money is coming out of our pocket? When you make money in the stock market, that money is take home. There are no taxes, right? If you made your 600,000 you will be written a check of 600,000 by your broker, all right? And in this case, I want to say by your robo-advisor.
Right.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Take home, no tax discussions, right? So the stock market solves significant problems for what people are trying to do. We just want people to now work with it in the power that it has, right? And we need to understand that people want to look at it historically from I made a wrong decision one day. They want to ask their, parents, and they'll say, yeah, I lost a little bit of money on it, I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. Instead of looking at it from their advantage as a young person, their advantage from an age perspective, and their advantage from an opportunity perspective. Mm-hmm. Ask themselves, what is that other person in Milan doing and why is he in my exchange when I am doing other things? There's another element that I'd want to bring out for the stock market because it solves just so many problems. Mm-hmm. If today I wanted to buy a piece of land, forget it if I'm a young person, right? Just the amount of money I have to put in place. The stock market has no such barrier. You can start, if you can put together, say in the case of Forefront, if you can put together 50,000 shillings, the world is open to you. You will do with that amount of money what high net worth people with 50 million shillings do. You'll get the same quality service. You'll get the same quality opportunities. Because believe me, high net worth are being brought these opportunities every day in their offices, right? Mm-hmm. Who's doing that for John and James and the rest, right? So imagine now sitting where you are in the job that you're doing, and then you get a message saying you should look at KPLC. We think it's going to grow, and it's going to grow wild, right? Mm-hmm. And you're in the correct profile to look at it, right? Those are the things that now come to you. The same way an advisor would come to a high net worth, now it's coming to you as an individual. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And how accurate is this information? Because, well, at the end of the day, we're just looking at numbers and the historical perspective of it to predict what will happen.
Yes.
What is the rate of accuracy?
The rate of accuracy, so let me start by what exactly is the algorithm tracking?
Right.
The algorithm tracks psychological decisions of the general public, right? What do people generally do? What we find is that people don't really change much, yeah? Unless I go through some sort of event in my life, I will generally make the same decisions I used to make before. And so when we started tracking this, we actually realized we could get it to about 70% accurate. And we are that's the first thing you will learn, is that we won't tell you it's 100%. Because we need you to be a serious investor. When we say you're not a serious investor is when you don't understand, and I want to get into it, but let me just mention it here, is when you don't understand consistency. When you haven't taken control of your emotional risk, and we can discuss emotional risk. When you haven't, there's about 3 or 4. Let me just look at my notes here. There's about 3 or 4 elements that you have to take care of for you to take advantage. One of the ways to know that is even as we're drawing these graphs to see how they're doing, they're not straight. The profitability is a straight line. Right. But the price did not move in a straight line. The price was jagged, right? And if you didn't have emotional control, as soon as it started dipping, what would you do? You'd call us up and say, I'm out. I'm out. Yeah. So someone who is able to then work with their advisor and say, you know what, I'm starting to get nervous. And the advisor says, yeah, we see that. I think we'll set your maximum loss at a certain number. And if it goes below that, we're out. But if it doesn't go below that, let's try and shoot for the moon. Right? And you're able to control it that way. Remember, it's personal, right? It's personal advice. Yeah. It's the same, I want people to think about the richest man on the planet that they understand.
That should be Musk right now.
It should be Musk right now. I agree, but the thing with Musk is he's there. Think of Dangote, think of people living in the country. Then think of the people who are outside their offices, ready to tell them, yeah, I think this is what's happening with ABS, and I think we need to get into it. And then he'll tell them, I'm getting a bit concerned. Then they say, okay, sir, or madam, we shall now put this, that same level of service is what you get here.
So even as, let's delve into the risks, a little bit more.
Okay.
Beyond emotional resilience that you require, what more do you need?
So you need consistency. I'll give an example of consistency. If we're tracking a price, let me give another one. Let me give another one here. Perfect. So if you look at Kengen, right?
Okay, that's KCB.
Sorry,
yes,
this
you're
is
holding up
KCB. Thank you very much, KCB. Now, KCB, when it started off, was a bit higher than around March, April. There's a little dip, all right? In that little dip, if I called you, Betty, and I told you, you see, for this dip, we need to add a bit more money so that we can make more profit, right? What would you tell me, right? That's the consistency that we need. It is someone who's saying, I am in this market because I believe the market will make money. I don't look at a dip to then conclude that this market is not working for me, right? The investors who I see who are able to then make that switch in their minds, this young investor, that yes, it will go up, it will go down, I know you'll protect me on the downside risk, and we spoke about that a little bit. But if I told you add more money, that's the person who really makes it big. That's the person who will then go to the 50%, 75%. The person who does well, but not so well, the average, we spoke about the average, will tell you, no, I'm getting really nervous. I want to just keep my money there. So we need consistency. We need you, and we'll train you with it. We will train the customer on how to manage emotional risk, because one of the key areas we found, and it is a characteristic of our good Gen Z and their older brothers and sisters, is they're a community. Everything they do it as a community. That came in because of social media. And in social media, everything I do is a community. So what we do in Forefront is we actually ask you, bring your community. Let's have a discussion together. Let's have a discussion about KCB DIP together, so that you don't have a conversation with your advisor technologically, and then you go talk to Stephen, and Stephen tells you, I wouldn't even touch it. I would be, that destroys the entire structure. So why don't you bring in your entire community? If you're looking to start an investment group, which is a wonderful Kenyan culture, bring that entire investment group in. Get this discussion managed by a professional advisor, and you'd be able now to start working together. You could have elements that are really deep, that are concerning you, that your friend knows, that your advisor doesn't know. Right? And now we're able to help you have that conversation with your friend, but it's a knowledgeable conversation. It has the facts, and you're able to take advantage of the market.
Right.
Yes.
Before people even get to investing, they have to put something away, right? You don't just you don't just wake up and put in nothing.
Yes.
So it is said that the saving culture in Kenya, of course there are numbers to show this, is very poor. Very few people are saving, and it's a number of issues. There's the economic problems that we are going through, so money is very scarce. How does someone get to that point where they have even the mind to save very consistently, in a very disciplined manner, and then now move to the investor side?
Yeah, great. That's I would say that's the third question you get from every investor. And it's, in our view, dream, and dream big, and dream to the extent that what I sacrifice today, just the dream itself will carry me through that. Right? A lot of people, especially, and it may not be so positive, but on social media there's a lot of big lives and the rest, and those people are young. And so that's not a very, economic-wise, that doesn't work very well. But what I like about it is it allows you to dream. And dreaming, when a man has hope, when a person has hope, they can be taken anywhere they need to be. I give a lot of classes at university, and one of the things we need to understand is that the current human being of today has got more opportunity than has ever been in this life. And it's a long story. It starts from the Industrial Revolution and then the technology revolution and the rest. But your ability to make money today cannot be quantified in any way. There's no number that can quantify from a subsistence farmer 1,000 years ago. Right? There is such opportunity in the market, being delivered by the internet, being delivered by technology, to the extent that you can actually see a difference in generations in terms of how these people are taking advantage. You know, we spoke about them, the millennials and the Gen Z versus the boomers and the Gen Xs. It's that fast, right? And so if you're a young person today, what I always tell when I give these talks, dream. I mean, and really dream. And that's why I say, you know, you mentioned Elon Musk. Don't dream about Elon Musk. You know, that's in another country. Dream about somebody here today. Preferably a business person, not the others who are making a lot of money who we shall not discuss. But look at a business person. It could be your friend's father. It could be your friend's mother, cousin, someone who you can see is progressing in life. Look at that and then dream where they could go and then see yourself in that. That will push you through anything. And I have seen it. I mean, it's just a powerful message for a young person to say, yeah, I can be what I see, what I'm actually seeing other people doing, I can do that. And then if you tell me I need to put away 1,000 shillings, I need to put away 500 shillings, oh, that becomes a very easy sacrifice. I don't even see it. So for me, that's one of the more enjoyable conversations I have, is when you see the spark in the eyes that, yeah, really, yeah, we can actually make it. Yeah, we can actually make it. Let's go.
Right. And of course, some people are pulled into that pressure of wanting to be what that person is right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Which probably is impossible. It's a journey. You have to take that journey.
Yes.
So how do you work on your mind, you know, to move from, okay, they are at that position, they're doing well, but it took them time to get there. Yeah.
That's one of the solutions in the stock market, answering that question. Yeah?
Right.
So now this person is dreaming and saying, yes, I can do it and I can make it. And therefore I can start putting money away. If you then tell this person, okay, put money away now, and then I'll show you what has happened in 20 years, you've then lost it. I mean, you've destroyed that entire hope. Yeah? But if you show this person, put this money now, and in 3 months, let's see you pulling out 30% return. Let's see you pulling out 25% return, even 10% return in a month, right? That person, by the time they look at their statement and then say, really, it actually happened, yeah? At that point, if you tell this person, let's go to the moon, they'll ask you, when shall we pack our bags? Yeah. So the stock market reinforces the discipline that somebody has. They need the dream to be able to begin. They need the correct financial advice. If you put that person in my view, if you put that person in a money market fund, that dream now has been prolonged again 10 years. Yeah, that person will more likely take all that money, put it in crypto, put it in all of these other more fast-moving elements. Those fast-moving elements do not have the protection required. Yeah, one of the things that is the work of the regulator, the CMA, is to create a fair and orderly market, which means I can go to sleep today and wake up tomorrow and I'm not wiped out. Yeah, I may lose, I may gain, but I'm not wiped out. Yeah, that's what ensures that you can grow with the market. What we're now injecting, our new word in the market, what we're now injecting is the ability to do that in a shorter time frame using technical analysis. And you know, in the world, I was in a benchmarking trip in India. They run 18 billion orders a day. Now, Indians are many people. Huh? There's a large population, but no human being is typing out 18 billion orders. Right? That's all technological. That's where all the young people are doing, right? If you're going to be hired at an investment bank, your counterpart, yeah, if you're a Gen Z or a millennial, your counterpart is told the first thing you need to do is learn how to code algos. That's your first job before you even enter the investment bank, before you start giving advice. Let's bring that home, right? Kenyans have been known to be some of the smartest people globally, right? I was I'm a returning diaspora, so I know this firsthand. Yeah,
okay.
It is a reputation that is there in the market. We want to give this opportunity to them.
Right.
Yeah.
You've mentioned the Indian stock market, and,
yes.
and I'm just wondering, with this technology that you offer, and maybe there are other players in the market who offer it, can you access the global markets as opposed to just focusing on the NSE, you know, take advantage of all the profits you can get out there? Yes.
So first of all, I think the statement is Kenya ni home, I think is what they say. So our largest focus is the Nairobi Securities Exchange. As I mentioned, people are coming here. So you can imagine people going out and crossing with people coming in, right? And both of them are saying we're going to look for profits, right? Yeah. So we are unapologetic that the core value, where you're going to make money, if you are a Kenyan-born citizen or if you're a citizen of this country, where you're going to make money fundamentally is the exchange. So we are unapologetic. Now, opportunities don't happen every day. You're not going to get an opportunity to buy something. Yeah, the algo can, after analyzing, say there's nothing today in the market. What do we then do with your money? What we do is take your money and we will put it in a more global product. Yeah, we are a division of a larger unit called Standard Investment Bank, and it has wonderful products, of which one of them is one of the largest growing funds in the market, and it's a global fund. Okay. And so while we're waiting for these high quality opportunities that match your profile, your money will be there. And so it's already exposed to the market. And so what we'll be saying is that as soon as we see an opportunity in Safaricom, then we'll say, all right, let's pull the money, let's put it in Safaricom for 3 months, pull it out, take our profits, put everything back, and wait, right? So today, you don't get idle money, right? It's either in a direct opportunity, right? As we said, unapologetic about the stock market, or it's sitting in a global fund, right? And so at any particular time, the money is always moving, right? And this is all to support the new psychology of the investor, right? I need to be moving fast. I need to be seeing what's growing, as you've correctly put. I need to be able to be exposed to the entire market, but I also need to know what's happening back home. We are unapologetic because it's a birthright. Right. Yeah. We can't get away from that. The same way a New Yorker wakes up and says, I'm going to go to the New York Stock Exchange, or an Indian wakes up and says, I'm going to go to the National Stock Exchange, which is what they call it. A Kenyan should wake up and say, I'm going to the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Right. And walk in proudly, right? And see the opportunity and get the return fast, in my view, even before the foreigners. Get the return fast and then share something with the foreigners. Right. We are not bad people. All right. Let's,
as we come to a close of the conversation, I'd like you to tell us if you can make money when prices are falling.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That I think is the most exciting. That's, I think, is the most exciting part of the conversation. The Central Depository and Settlement Corporation, CDSC, holds everyone's shares. You know, the best way to think about it, they're the bank for shares. So if I say I'm holding KCB, my account is there, right? Just so that we can get some foundation. What happens when the price is falling, right? I'm going to use you as an example. Okay. You are a forefront customer. Your profile says, I want to move, right? I, as a forefront customer, let's presume I am 20 years older. I want a more relaxed environment, right? And I own, let's choose a security, KPLC, right? Now, the algo tells you KPLC price is going to fall, right? And you say, all right, let us try this strategy called short selling, right? Short selling, right? What short selling says is go to an older person, someone who is very stable, you know, your Donalds of this world, and borrow the security. And the Central Depository, the CDSC, have a huge mechanism for ensuring that my shares are safe even though I lend them to you, right? My shares are safe. You will put some collateral with them. They will keep monitoring what you're doing. You sell them in the market. So maybe you sell it at 100 shillings, right? So now you're holding, maybe you borrowed 100 shares from me. So that 100 shillings, you're holding 1,000, or is it 10,000 shillings? Then the price drops, right? The price drops to 50 shillings. You buy them back, right? So now you've spent half the amount of money to buy back the shares, and you return the shares to me, right? You have now made money when the price is falling, right? Remember, you sold at 100 and you bought back at 50.
Right.
Excellent money in your pocket. When that strategy was developed, it was developed around the 1600s. It was so powerful that it actually crashed the market at the time, right? Because now people came and said, oh, I really don't care whether it's going up or going down. I'm making money either way. Yeah. Let's go in, right? And then you start overwhelming the market, luckily for us, the exchange has such technology. We barely use what it's there, right? And so we're able to now offer all these instruments to you, so that in very simple terms, if I am a Gen Z, and I'm told, I think this price is falling, I can say, I want to get involved in that short sale. We already have the millennial, not the millennial, the Gen X, who is willing to lend you money. You will give him a small interest. You're using his assets. You'll give him a small interest. And we are in town. We are able now to make money when it's falling, when it's rising. So this idea that the price, that there's no opportunity goes away. There's the profiles who only want to go only in long positions when your prices are rising. There are profiles that want to use both advantages, and they all get individualized service, all supported by technology.
Right.
Yes.
Wow, Donald, I think this is a conversation that cannot be completed in even 2 hours.
Yes, I really thank you for it.
Right, but we are out of time. I'll give you only 30 seconds to give us your closing remarks, please. What is the future like? The future,
if Kenya goes the way the rest of the world has gone, and there is no reason to believe, because we are just smart people, we are recognized. We are going to head into technology, into technical analysis in a big way, just from the level of intellect that is housed within our borders. As I said, markets, Western markets are up to 80% technical analysis. So we're heading there in a big way. What we want are people first to understand that there is a lot of opportunity in the market. They need personalized service. It's good to go with the other products, but if you are a young person today getting into the market, if you are a mid-level person getting into the market, get the right fit, get the right glove for you, right? And in our view, Forefront Management solves exactly that problem. Right. And I thank you very much. I always enjoy our conversations.
Asante, me too, Donald. Thank you very much for speaking with us. I have been talking to Donald Wangunyu, who is the CEO of Forefront Management, discussing how algorithmic trading uses AI to invest, to ensure that investors are getting the most from the stock markets. He says there's a big opportunity there that Kenyans need to take advantage of. This conversation, of course, continues online. You can continue that conversation at KBC Channel 1. Tell us what you think. We want to take a quick break. When we come back, we shall talk about matters agriculture and how we are working towards food security. Stay with Channel 1.
Hii si haki. Kusema kweli nilipaswa kwa nimemaliza masomo siku ya leo.
Na si umalize by the way, nani amekukataza? Na unasinya by the way.
I feel Pilas Katito from Kisumu City, the land of the great people. I'm vying for the topmost position of this institution.
Atito, you can make me your first lady.
Mr. Man, what is funny? Nothing. I just wanted to know how it feels to have a trunk.
Kwa nini wewe ulimtobolea mtoto siri mapema?
Wewe mfanyakazi utamleta lini?
Kazi ya kutafuta mfanyakazi usiniachie mimi.
Mambo yangu hayaendi ninavyotaka.
Samahani. Naona tuna mgeni. Ni nani?
Naomi. Sio umekuwa ukinisumbua hapa kila wakati unataka mfanyakazi?
Ila anasikia maombi, sikio lake si zito.
We want to talk about the deception of suicide.
Anybody who's committing suicide, they are not in their right minds.
Okay.
I can be very okay when I'm with people.
Okay.
But when I'm alone, it can be very, like for me, it was very difficult. I remember just when God told me, it's well, because I asked him, we uko wapi? Kwa hii story yote, uko wapi? Ama umeketi somewhere, maybe unanichekelea.
And to leave me, Lucy.
Hakuna kitu tunafanya cha maana.
No, I'm very busy. I'm supposed to fly out of the country. And here I am. Atiketi ya yogurt.
Nikaona kitu chwa.
Hata wewe baada sisi kushika wewe. Alituuliza. Nyinyi anashika mimi sababu ya yogurt tu.
Na kali nyingine ilikuja ya nini ya German Shepherd. German Shepherd.
Unamaanisha nini?
Kali ya German Shepherd. Hiyo ni nyamasa wewe ndio unaniuliza hapa ni mimi.
Hello and welcome. Today we're at the City of Champions here in Eldoret, Osingishu County. We will not showcase athletics. We will showcase the most inspiring stories from the tech side in agri-tech. Take a look.
Official government statistics obtained from the 2019 Kenya National Population Census indicates that the age of the average farmer in Kenya is 60 years. It is these statistics that led innovators to wonder how they could not only rope in young Kenyans into farming, but also contribute positively to Kenya's agriculture sector.
While doing this, stumbled upon a niche of farmers, especially young farmers like ourselves, that have no interest or have no time to be at the farm level. So they engage, they're busy, they're career people and so forth. So our job is to be now their representative at the farm level.
Meet Stephen Mwongela, the managing director at Plus Farm, a homegrown digital farm management platform in Kenya. He says platforms like his began from the constant call for support by farmers at a personal level, which by chance has carved out a unique niche. How then does the technology work to attract new and current farmers?
A farmer can be able to keep the records of everything from land propagation all the way to the market and extract profit and loss accounts as well as extract activity report. So you can be able to tell all the agrochemicals that you applied, and obviously this will lead to the conversation about traceability and a farmer being able to tell, okay, am I doing business or am I, doing something else that's not clear?
Headquartered in Eldoret Town, Osingishu County, the Plus Farms platform is aided by a consistent barrage of real-time data recorded by extension and field officers on the ground, busy monitoring systems as they visit farms in Kenya's food-growing regions. Innovators say it is one of the ways of properly commercializing farms for farmers and minimizing risks.
Say there's platform on one end, then you have the farm owner on the other end, who is probably in Nairobi or in Helsinki or in London or in, Finland or thereabout. And then you have the farm manager, who is at the farm level. So all these people need to be in the same circle of information flow. The app allows us to be able to allow this without necessarily lifting our phones and calling each other.
It's not as agriculture as usual. We see it as an investment. So for any youth, okay, so if they have some money, they have some land, they want to invest in it.
Agriculture is key to Kenya's economy, contributing 33% of the gross domestic product and another 27% of GDP indirectly through linkages with other sectors. This indicating the vital role of technology in energizing the sector. To that end, innovators have a clarion call to stakeholders.
Farmers need to view their farms as enterprises, even register them. Okay, and let professionals run these farms for them, and then there are more links that come.
A call to all the young people in this country to find ways in how they can participate in agriculture, and they do not necessarily need to go to the farm and farm, because whether you're a doctor, a teacher, or whatever you are, you can invest in agriculture through companies like ourselves, and then we will promote those projects you have, those investments you have at home, whether it's at home or other places. And we can create a country that produces sufficiently for itself and for exports.
The Kenyan agricultural sector is said to employ more than 40% of the total population and more than 70% of Kenya's rural people, thanks to digital farming.
You therefore have no excuse to remain at home or at the office saying that you cannot go and tend to your farm, because young technopreneurs are proving to you that technology has come to save you the hustle and bustle of the farm. Alanauko, Tech One.
Thank you very much for keeping it KBC Channel 1. You are watching BizCheck now. In the second hour of our show, we'd like to talk about matters agriculture and achieving food security. And considering that land sizes are shrinking by the day because of population increase and other issues, the yield from farmers has been going down. And to improve yield as well as tackle the issues of climate change, technology transfer is very important. We just want to know how that is being done and what is being done to ensure that our farmers are getting maximum yield to feed the nation and beyond. To have this conversation is Kennedy Oyugi, who is an agricultural economist at Africa Harvest. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting us here
Karibu sana.
to talk about matters agriculture.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Tell us what, first of all, Africa Harvest does.
Africa Harvest is a non-governmental organization which has its headquarters here in Nairobi, and it has been in operation for the last 22 years. Basically, our mission is to transfer improved technologies to the farmers to ensure that Africa is free from hunger, poverty, and malnutrition. So that we do by ensuring that we can work with the stakeholders, research institutions, farmers, and even government entities to be able to transfer transformative technologies from the research shelves to the farmers where it's needed.
I like that you mentioned the research shelves. Of course, Africa has been notorious at having a lot of research in paper, but implementation has been wanting. Yes. So how exactly do you do that?
So the first thing to do is to identify where there is a problem. For example, where the yields are not to the expected standards. Then we look at what the researchers have done. Let's say the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization products, ICRISAT products, and many others. Then see how can we then allow these technologies to go to the farmers by demonstrating them to where they are most needed, to identify the ones that are working best. For example, we have an approach called participatory farmer research, where we deploy these technologies to the community, and we try them, or we work with the community, trying different technologies that are available, so that at the end of the day, the community can, by itself, see what is it that is working best for them. So once they have seen by themselves on their farms, they are able to say, this is not just research, but something that we can actually do and get advantage out of it. So we do identify the appropriate technologies, try them practically with the farmers, and let the farmers choose what works best for them. And once we have done that, we are now able to also share the information with the other farmers. For example, mount training programs, because some of the people we are bringing on board are actually young. They have not been in agriculture before. So they may not understand how to do, for example, the right spacing. They may not understand how to best control the pests. They may not understand how to best do post-harvest handling. So we train them on the technologies that the community feel they are best for them. So with that understanding and linking them to the markets, that market gives that pool, because all these people want to gain some income. Once you can show them that if you use this technology this way, it can be able to give you a good income, then they are interested.
Right.
Yes.
So, of course, community mobilization is very important, because 80% of Kenya's agriculture is handled by smallholder farmers. How do you ensure that you're meeting the needs of all those different farmers? Because even in a specific area, people are cropping different plants. They are probably planting a variety of plants. How do you make sure that you're meeting the needs of all those farmers at the same time?
All those farmers, as many as they are, they have needs that could be grouped together. For example, farmers at the coast may require varieties and crops or value chains that are different from those required by people in the Rift Valley. So basically, we have mapped out which value chains will do best in which geographies. And so what we do as Africa Harvest is to ensure that we have varieties that are tested even by KFIS, and they are proved that these are the suitable varieties for this region. So we don't just move with the variety from one region to the other and maybe register very minimal yields. So what we do is to deliver to the people what research has proved that it can work in that particular sub-county or in that particular county. And again, even where it works, people even at household level may have different needs and even passion. There are people who could be passionate about crops. There are people who could be passionate about short cycle livestock like chicken. So we give them according to what they need. And like one of the projects that we are handling currently, we actually send out a form for the youth to feel what they want and where in the value chain they would like to participate. Other youth were interested in producing crops. There are others who are interested in just aggregating what other farmers have produced and selling. There are those who are keen on participating at value addition level. Yeah, so we first of all identify what each of our stakeholders need and is interested in. Then we capacity build them in that particular area. Yeah.
From what you've just mentioned, it said that the average age of a Kenyan farmer is 60 years. And of course, there's a lot that needs to be done to attract more young people.
Yeah.
But from what you're saying, it seems there is interest from young people, right?
There is, yes. There is interest, and sometimes a problem can be actually an opportunity in some cases. Like in the Kenyan case currently, many young people are not employed. And to earn income, they are willing to invest in agriculture, especially once it can be shown that it can be demonstrated beyond doubt that agriculture can pay them a dignified income. So they are willing to enter agriculture. Some challenged maybe by access to land, but that's how now we are availing opportunities like value addition. We are availing opportunities like aggregation and even market linkages. We are even introducing young farmers into digital technologies where they can be able to aggregate demand using digital platforms, such that they are at one point they can be able to establish that in this area around KBC, for example, we have this number of farmers who are willing to dispose this amount of crop, and then they can now use that information to get a buyer who can be able to take this kind of crop and earn a commission out of that, even if they don't have land, for example. So because that will not require land. Value addition, for example, we are working with the young people, especially young women, to do value addition in the crops like sorghum, where they can be able to generate or to produce sorghum cakes. And by then they are very nice for those of us who have tasted them.
Okay.
And so that may not require that that particular young person has land. Just a small oven plus where I can place it is sufficient to put this person into income generating activities. And as he or she earns from value addition, it pulls other people into producing the raw materials that will be used for that value addition. Yes.
We shall delve into the value addition bit in just a little bit, but let's talk about the farmers on the ground. Even as you help them adopt these technologies, we know that a big challenge that farmers have had is the lack of extension services or limited extension services.
Yes.
What has been your experience in terms of ensuring that these services get to them?
That's true, actually, and it's not like a problem that farmers have created.
Right.
I think it's a resource constraint at national level and even at county levels. So what we have decided is to use community members, train them to become, if you like, mini extension officers. From within the community, we identify people who are trainable with a certain level of education. We train them and make them trainers of these farmers. So currently Africa Harvest has like over 600 spread across over 10 counties, where we have trained them in the whole spectrum, from agronomy to value addition to market linkages to negotiation skills, to be able now to cascade that information, that knowledge, the skills to the last mile areas, I can say the last person along the value chain. So they can be able to reach farmers and bridge that gap. And again, we're not doing this in isolation. We work with the available government extension officers, because you realize that some of them are quite informed, quite knowledgeable, but they are fewer, so they can't reach everybody. So we bring them to train with us, these trainers at community level, so that now we can be able to release or send them to the community to train other people. Yes.
So even as you work with the extension officers from the governments, the county government and the national government, with the GDP contribution that agriculture has towards this country,
yes,
isn't more supposed to be done to support these farmers who are producing what we are eating and what we are exporting?
Actually, a lot needs to be done, because all studies, all research say that agriculture has the highest potential to provide jobs and also to even spur industrial development, because industries require raw materials. For a case, an economy which is dependent on agriculture as opposed to, say, minerals, agriculture will play very significant role inspiring other components of our economy. So a lot needs to be done. And one thing that needs to be done is that availing extension beyond where we are now, beyond where the situation is. Secondly, is to working with other stakeholders, national and international, to get the right technologies to the farmers. The right technologies here covering seeds or breeds for the case of livestock, and even machinery that can be able to reduce drudgery and be able to deliver the job within a short period. Yes.
So as the land size is shrinking, Kenya probably looks at commercializing agriculture.
Yes.
So how do you achieve that commercialization, yet the land size is shrinking?
We may want to intensify what we get from a certain unit of land, because traditionally people would move around and clear more bushes and plant more crops. But that's not an option that we have right now. So that's why we need to do appropriate technology combination to make sure that we enhance our productivity, which is one also of the Africa Harvest thematic areas, so that from that acre, we can now get more. If we are getting 5 bags of sorghum, we can now get 10 from the same acre, because we are not, we don't have any ability to increase the size of earth that we know it. So the land is still limited, and it will continue getting limited, especially in terms of what is available for agriculture. Yeah, because we have to share that space with the buildings, we have to share that space with other infrastructure. Yes.
And how do we ensure that we are maximizing yield in a sustainable way? Because we know that we have an issue with soil acidity in Kenya. And of course, a lot of organizations have been, and the government as well has been proactive in coming up with interventions towards this. So how do we ensure sustainable agriculture?
There are proven technologies towards that. For example, there are very well-known soil and water management practices, including minimal tillage, where we don't have to plow a whole square meter, yet your crop only needs maybe less than 0.5 square foot to grow. So you are disturbing this other part of the land unnecessarily. So those are some of the things that we say can be able to enhance productivity without needing to expand the land. There are also issues to do with the integrated pest management. You don't have to overspray. You look at what can we combine with what biological practices to make sure that you can be able to get what the yields that we expect without sort of exacerbating the already bad situation in terms of land fragmentation, environmental degradation. So the soil and water conservation measures, others including even like mulching. Mulching will serve you in 2 different ways. It will conserve the water that is there, and also add organic matter to the soil. So this can even be done to amend soils that are already degraded. Yes. Agroforestry, for example, ensuring that we can be able to plant trees which can coexist with the crops, for example. There are some trees which can also be which can serve as fodder for livestock. So that way we are able to intensify, but at the same time pursue our sustainable development goals.
And of course, you've mentioned a whole lot of solutions that are available. Are farmers using them?
Yes and no. There are those who are using, who are already enlightened around those technologies, and they're using and reaping benefits. But there are those who are still in need of awareness and capacity building to be able to move. And what we have said with farmers, that once you can demonstrate that this works and it helps you achieve your objectives in a better, a more cost-effective way, then they are willing to adopt.
Right.
Yes.
Speaking of matters organic, there is 800,000 organic. There is 800,000 I think metric tons demand of fertilizer in Kenya. But we are only producing around 50. And there's a deficit there. We are using chemical fertilizer, and organic fertilizer producers are saying, we are here, we are here to provide organic fertilizer to make our soils healthier. What are your thoughts in terms of that overuse of chemicals on the soils?
Overuse of chemicals or any other input for that matter is not something that I will encourage. And For the record, I'm an agricultural economist who like to ensure that we get the most out of what you have. So overuse will not be the right thing to be done. But again, farmers are keen on improving from where they are today, getting more from that land. And that's why sometimes they are driven into overuse of chemicals. So if you train them to use chemical in a more sustainable way, because there are times when we have to use the chemicals, maybe to fight a disease or a pest that is too stubborn for our organic approaches. Of course, we pray that such kind of disastrous occurrences are fewer. But for example, if you look at what we had with the fall armyworm, it was a very devastating pest, at it is highest point of destruction. So in such cases, we may need to use chemicals. But in areas where we can be able to use what I call integrated pest management, where sometimes you don't have to spray. You can even pick if when they are fewer, and that ends that problem. So that also calls for farmers to be vigilant. Can you inspect your farm, for example, to see when the crop, the pest, is it just one, maybe it has not even multiplied, where you squeeze it and it's done. Or maybe you apply even some ash and it's done. But once the population has become too much, then we'll have to go. That's when now maybe we need the chemicals. So integrated pest management would be a good thing, where we're combining not just chemicals, but chemicals are being used as the last option. Yes.
All right. And of course, this knowledge has to be transferred to the farmers,
yes,
right?
Yes.
What are your thoughts in terms of how knowledgeable farmers are of the modern technology that is available for them?
Again, that's a gap that we have as a country. Because even the people we are working with, we went sometimes into community hoping that, oh, Kenya has been in agriculture for many decades or many years, so people are all knowledgeable. But we realize that some people are starting farming for the first time. So I would say that people are still not aware of, most people are still not aware of what to be done at the right time. And this also can be attributed to what you said about the lack of extension services. For a very long time, Kenya has been having a very bad ratio in terms of farmer extension. And that has created that gap where some farmers are not well aware of what needs to be done. Not that they are not willing to do, but they are not well aware. So we just need to work together, mount programs, even working with the people like KBC to share some of the information that can guide farmers on what to do. Because again, we don't want farmers to be left alone in the social media space where everybody has become an expert, and some of them actually mislead farmers. So we are continuing to work with farmers. As I mentioned, we have over 600 people on the ground trying to educate these people, the farmers. So we hope that as we pull together, we are going to be able to give farmers adequate information. We're not turning them into experts, but at least adequate information to help them do a good job in agriculture. Yeah.
Now let's delve into what we had touched on matters value addition.
Yes.
Value addition in the agriculture sector is said to be the game changer, you know, in opening up jobs and just growing agriculture as a whole in this economy. What can be done to ensure that more people are taking up value addition and also to surmount the challenge of the capital required, you know, to go into value addition in the agriculture sector?
Okay. Again, allow me to first of all start by talking a little bit about what is value addition.
Right.
Because in most cases, you realize that people are confusing processing with value addition. Value addition takes on many forms. Even just grading your crop or your produce is a form of value addition. I'm sure you are willing to pay more for a crop that is clean. So if you go to a market and find somebody has a consignment that's very clean, no chaff, no stones, you are willing to pay for that kind of effort that somebody has put in that. And that's value addition. Storage to ensure that you are not selling your crop at the peak of harvesting. it is value addition. People will be able to pay you more for having stored for them. Then there is this processing now, where we are transforming this produce from a form it was before to something different, to make it even more usable, to make it be able to stay longer on the shelves. That's again another form of value addition. So let me concentrate on the transformation bit, the processing bit. Yes, turning the produce into something maybe more valuable, maybe that can take longer on the shelves, requires resources. But luckily, we also have technologies that are now coming up, which are quite small scale. Like, for example, oven that may not need even electricity, maybe some bit of charcoal, for example, to be able to bake. We have cottage industries where processing doesn't have to take a whole acre or acres of land to put up very cumbersome, very complicated machinery. We may have even things like making butter, handheld equipment that even one person can be able to run, to operate actually. You can even carry it from one region to one house to the other without having to maybe seek the services of a specialized transporter. So there are these small-scale technologies that you can be able to use to do value addition in the form of processing this produce. Yes. So let's embrace those technologies, and because maybe they serve a certain village, you even don't have maybe to transport your products to very different areas. Some of them may not even require specialized packaging. For example, you go into the community and realize there are juices which just have a simple label describing what's there, what was used, the mango, or the. So those are things that you can embrace, especially in a situation where supply of capital is limited. Yes.
That is what they call the cottage industry?
Yeah, that is cottage industry.
Yes.
And it is serving in this country in very various ways. People are making peanut butter, people are making juices, people are making cakes, for example, which is good. Already you can be able to do it. Yes.
And as players, of course, across the value chain are targeting the export market, there has been an issue that has been coming up in terms of meeting the standards that are required for the export market. A number of consignments from Kenya have been, nabbed or stopped from entering various export markets. So what can farmers do and people in the agriculture value chain do to ensure that they are meeting these standards that are required before their product is allowed into another market?
I'll tell you, each market has its own requirements, even the local ones.
Yes.
And so, to me, it's first of all to look at what are the market requirements for this particular segment of the market and evaluate, am I able to meet them in terms of the practical components? Do I have the resources? And then once you know you can meet it, is that market, export market that we all want to participate in, giving it a premium that will be able to cover my cost of production here and save something? So sometimes I've seen situations where people are interested in export markets, even when our local markets can serve them better without too much stress. And sometimes you look at the ability to meet those requirements are limited. So somebody will start and may not be able to complete. So you have already invested in, maybe suffered some expenses, but again, the commodity gets rejected. So to me, for those who can afford, I believe there are people to provide them with the necessary technical training. The best technical guidance, it's there.
Right.
Kenya, especially in matters of agriculture, we are well endowed in terms of expertise. So depending on the market, you can always get somebody to advise you. What I will advise farmers is not to see export market as the only market. Even when maybe it's just a quarter an acre Of course, there are means to aggregate even these people who have a quarter or even an eighth of an acre to be able to participate in the export market. But the cost of aggregating this, sometimes, if you look at what the export market is paying vis-a-vis the costs until that foreigner pays, sometimes too much. But I'll encourage people to have that segregation in mind. There's an export market, there are also local markets, even in national markets, there are regional markets maybe within East Africa. So it's a matter of choosing and weighing our abilities.
Right.
Like now we always talk about, and in fact that's where I started, about food insecurity issues in Kenya. Why are we exporting or agitating only for the export market when we're still talking about Kenya being food insecure, for example? Sometimes we export, then we import processed products of what we exported. So for me, before I even look at the export market, I really want to look at what can we do here as a country. Because again, when we're exporting as raw materials, we're exporting jobs. If it was processed here, then our people get employed. But I'm not ruling out the export market.
Right.
Just let's do the maths.
Right, do the math. And in doing the math, sometimes as consumers, you go to the supermarket or the market and you're definitely looking at buying the cheapest product. And sometimes the products produced in Kenya cannot compete with what we've imported from our neighbors because of our high production cost. So what can be done to bring this cost down so that our products, locally made, locally produced, can be more competitive in the market?
There are a number of ways that can be achieved. And the very first one is to stretching our productivity such that per acre we can be able to get as much as possible. That will make our raw materials cheaper even here. Then the other thing is to ensure that if there are any forms of taxes, even on machinery that is used to manufacture these products, our government considers lowering taxes and sometimes even subsidizing acquisition of those machinery. Because the government should not just look at, if we subsidize, then we are going to lose revenue. What about the revenue that will come in terms of employment creation internally? So those are things that need to be looked at holistically, especially getting our materials as low as possible, as cheaply, more affordable as possible. Yeah, that's one way. And then just ensuring that we create efficiencies in our channels of distribution. We manage our post-harvest losses to ensure that we can be able to get even a profit without having to charge so expensively. Yes.
You are in charge, or rather you are policy advocacy expertise. In terms of policies governing the agriculture sector, what more can be done to support this industry, this very important industry?
The best to me is increasing funding for agriculture. Funding in terms of access to extension services, funding in terms of access to machinery, funding in terms of access to other inputs like fertilizer and fertilizer and seed, for example. And I think the government has been tackling one component about access to fertilizer, which to me I think is good. It just needs to be enhanced, and then these issues that I don't want to go into about the quality of fertilizer are addressed, then we'll be on the right track. The other one is about market, because market offers a pool for these investments. So ensuring that for export markets, we invest in advertising, opening up more channels for our commodities to go into other countries, and also internally making sure that we invest even in agricultural manufacturing. We saw the other day most of the counties starting business hubs, industrial hubs. Are they equipped? So we need to make sure that those hubs have, for example, adequate cold storage facilities such that we don't lose our produce, especially fresh produce, because sometimes you visit some of our markets and what you see is that somebody came with a crate of tomatoes, and now he's pulling that crate of tomatoes to throw it away because they are spoiled. But if markets had, for example, got good and affordable cold storage facilities, somebody can extend the shelf life of this produce and be able to sell it the following day. Because once you throw it, then you have lost. The country has lost. Yeah. So infrastructure, inputs, open markets, enhanced extension, that should help us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Farmers have for long complained of the issue of middlemen, you know, making more than the ones who are producing. Mm-hmm. What can be done to... I don't think you can completely eliminate middlemen from the value chain. But what can be done to ensure that even as the players across the value chain are making money, the farmer is still getting well compensated?
One of the issues and which we're actually been working on as after harvest is enlightening farmers to know their cost of production. Sometimes these middlemen take advantage of farmers because the farmers are not aware whether to what extent they're being, for example, underpaid, because they don't even know how much it costs them to produce that unit. And so that's the starting point. Once you know that, once you know that I use this much, then you are expecting something. You are negotiating with this person with some expectation. So sometimes you may be hesitant to take just any price. Secondly, it's about organizing the farmers. Middlemen take advantage of the, can I say, individualistic nature of our farmers. He or she threatens, if you don't sell to me, I'll buy it to somebody else. But if you are organized, if it can't buy from this group, then there's nowhere else maybe is accessing this. So that way you are able to influence even the prices at which you sell your produce. So information about marketing, market prices, and it has to be reliable information about market prices. So that even you know also that, yes, here in Nairobi, this is the price. In the rural areas where my crop is, these are the prices. You do the maths around the transport costs and see whether you can be able to play in a different market. Then the cartels at the markets, that's again another big problem. Those ones, in my view, should just be eliminated. And the government is able to do that. Because there are people, you arrive with your commodity here in Nairobi, maybe you are from Nyeri or from somewhere else, and even getting where to place just your commodity to sell is difficult. And then there are people who threaten others. You cannot put your commodity here to sell without paying us for nothing, because they're offering no service there. So those are the cartels, those are actually criminals in my view, that should be eliminated from the market. Then in those markets, we should have, again, the storage facilities I talked about, affordable. If you have traveled from a different zone, because you realize the prices or demand in a different place is better, and you have landed there with your commodity, good quality. If you sell and you are not able to dispose the whole stock, do you have a place you can store your commodity? As things stand now, it's almost non-existent in most markets. So if you delivered a crop and you are not able to sell the whole of it, and maybe you used hired transport, the person who offered you transport is pressurizing you to find a way of getting your produce off his pickup or off his lorry. He wants to go back, and you have nowhere else. So somebody suffers big one-time loss that says you can never go back to that market again. So those are some of the things that we need to do to address the issue of middlemen. Of course, as you said, middlemen cannot be fully eliminated. And there are middlemen who come and buy. You agree on the price. Those ones are good. But these ones who hide at the market and give orders, those ones should be eliminated.
That's where the problem is.
Yes.
Right. So agriculture being a devolved function and all these issues that are facing farmers, the post-harvest losses, extension services. What do you think is the role of the devolved units in ensuring that agriculture is solid in their different counties?
Again, the same thing that we will expect from any government, putting in place the right infrastructure. In fact, the devolution of agriculture helps counties to zero down on what is specific, what is of importance to their own people. So putting together like good markets that have the right post-harvest handling machinery or facilities is a good thing. Employing more extension officers as government is still a very important thing. Secondly, enhancing access to inputs like seed. There are some farmers who are stuck in their traditional varieties which are less productive because they cannot afford seed. So having programs where maybe a farmer can be able to access seed and pay after harvest, those will be able to enhance our agriculture. Because sometimes farmers are forced to go to sources of credit where you have borrowed today to buy seed, the next month you are supposed to repay that amount. So if you do not have any other source, you get scared of taking those kind of credits, say from self-help groups. So we need credit facilities that are tailor-made for agriculture, where you know this person can only repay after harvesting and selling, not something that will take today and the following week you're supposed to repay, yet the crop has not even germinated, for example. So if you had other sources of money, you will not have taken that has interest.
That is true.
Yeah.
Right, so as we come to a close of the conversation, I'd give you a minute or so to give us your closing remarks on this.
Okay, thank you. Agriculture works. Agriculture is important for this country. We should invest in agriculture, in better technologies, especially the right varieties, the right seeds, and put in place policies that specifically shield farmers from risks. For example, the droughts, especially in view of the climate change issues. Ensuring that our farmers, for example, can access crop and livestock insurance almost universally. And also ensuring that they can be able to access agriculture tailored credit and to ensure that our markets are working. That, to me, will be a great thing. And this is now something that one entity will do. All of us as Kenyans need to come together with all friends of Kenya to work to enhance agriculture productivity in this country.
Thank you very much for your thoughts on that and sharing your knowledge on agricultural matters.
Thank you.
Asante sana. I have been speaking with Kennedy Oyugi, who is an agricultural economist at Africa Harvest. We have talked about what Africa Harvest and other stakeholders are doing to ensure that farmers are supported to maximize the yield on their ever-shrinking land sizes. That is it for BizCheck this morning. Of course, at the top of the hour, Kurunzi Mashinani is coming up, and Kasichana Masha is already in studio to bring you that. My name is Kiptum. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Bye-bye.